Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty back with the letter where we are trying to hook up Zachary with Hannah and Luke with Marianne and Rebecca. We are still playing as Rebecca, and she has run into Luke at the school yet again. However, all those good vibes disappear into thin air when I run headfirst into Luke. There's really something in this man. Regardless of how much my opinion of him has changed over the span of a few hours, he simply blasts through every good impression people have of him without care or thought. He doesn't even need to open his mouth, his mere presence does it. In all honesty, I think he's the kind of guy only a mother could love.
You're still here?
Obviously. Who do you think's standing in front of you?
An ass.
Oh, come on, Daisy, you've done better than that. Losing your touch?
Luke, I don't have time for this. I'm heading home, and your face is the last thing I want to see before I leave. What do you want?
Belatedly, I notice his hand. Partly raised, almost poised for a knock. At a slight lift of an eyebrow, he quickly drops it to his side and turns to Kylie. She's standing a few steps away from him, holding her hands behind her back and towing at something on the floor with the tip of her shoe. Then he proceeds to make vague gestures at me and the child. He resembles a fish flopping for air with the way he's moving his arms. Though I think he's trying to urge her to speak up.
Munchkin, I thought you wanted to tell her something.
You do it, Tio.
This wasn't my idea, darling.
Don't worry. I won't tell Tia what you told me the other day. And this morning.
Luke exhales, rolling his eyes at the ceiling and maybe praying for the universe to grant him more patience. He knows a losing battle when he sees one. He may act worse than a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum at times, but he's no match for an actual child. Nothing better than being served a dose of his own medicine, huh? Once his frustration has been promptly let out, he points a rude finger at me. I do my best to stare the offending digit down, but I can already hear the demand before it's even out of his lips.
You, come with us.
What makes you think I will?
Because little Rugrat here is upset and worried, and it's your bloody fault. I've no idea what happened this morning, but if you don't come with us, I won't be hearing the end of it from her. So do me a favor, Daisy, and just be glad I'm inviting you.
You're asking for a favor, and you can't be bothered to be polite? I don't know. It's been a really busy day for me. I kind of miss my couch.
Daisy, you just say yes.
A pause follows, almost too dramatic. Afterwards, his face twists into something between a grimace and a smile. As it happens, he appears like he's in a lot of physical pain. You'd think the man is getting an aneurysm by simply being polite.
Please?
Tio said it'll be his treat.
What? I said no such thing, Munchkin. I only agreed to this because you requested it. I'm under no obligation to feed her.
I promise I'll be quiet the next time I visit.
Oh, all right, but just one meal and make it the cheapest.
We're going to McDonald's. He and Ashton will get along famously in that department. On a different front, the offer of free dinner does sound enticing, however half-heartedly given it is. Mostly because Kylie has wisely put on her puppy eyes, and by the second, I find all my choices slipping away from me.
See, Miss Pink? It'll be fun. You don't have to feel sad anymore, okay?
Oh, well,
My mobile buzzes from my pocket, cutting me mid-sentence, and for a second, I'm spared from the act of giving an answer I'll regret either way. Fishing the gadget out, I wave a hand at him and excuse myself. A disgruntled expression is on Luke's face before I turn away. I'd be lying if I said it didn't amuse me. He's as eager to be done with this as I am, but what can I do? Checking a message from Ashton shows up. Hey Becca, I'll be around Salem Well this evening. Need to meet someone in the area. I might have to drop by yours and Isabella's place after. See ya. Oh, just the usual. Unlike what he does to Zachary, Ashton has the decency to let us know when he's dropping by or he's in the area for some business. From the way it's phrased, it sounds to be the latter. Either way, I'm glad he's at least aware of that boundary. Not that Isabella's ever going to let him leave the building unscathed. If he ever pulls the same stunt he does with Zach. I cringe to imagine what she'd do to him. Sighing, I slip the gadget back into my pocket. But looking up to see Luke's utter impatience on his face, I now face a different dilemma. The two of them are still waiting, and knowing the kind of person Luke is, this is already a grand gesture of goodwill coming from him. All to please his godchild. His denials aside, it's easy to tell he's really fond of Kylie from his actions alone. I'd kinda hate to ruin that.
Well, Daisy, we're waiting here.
On the other hand, there's Ash. His message doesn't exactly imply he's going to wait, or he's expecting me to be there. There are matters I hope to discuss with him in person, to put it simply. Housewarming party matters. With inviting Isabella out of the question, I only have Zachary and Ashton. Why can't we invite Isabella? No, I guess because it's at the mansion. Although the former has already made it clear he'll be busy this weekend, and well, Ashton has been my first choice from the start. See, if y'all communicated, you'd know he's going to be busy going to the party. Even if he detests attending gatherings like this. It's company that counts, we can be miserable together. But that's the problem, isn't it? He hates them, and it's very likely his answer will be a flat no. I'd rather not hear that. If, by some miracle, he agrees to it, he'll probably be sulking the whole party. Not really a tough choice when you put it like that. Still. Tough choice, but I have to pick one. Okay, but only because Kylie asked. In the end, it's my own fondness for Kylie that wins out. Chances are I'll only have to endure his presence for an hour or so. If it lasts more than that, I can make up an excuse, a sudden call from a friend, or things to work on. It doesn't seem so bad when I think of the pros and cons. At best, it'll be a quiet dinner. At worst, it'll be an awkward affair we're both eager to be rid of. I'm leaning more on the latter happening, hoping for the former, of course.
Okay, but only because Kylie asked.
Kylie's face instantly lights up. For the third time today, she tackles me into a hug before pulling me away and dragging me by the hand towards the building's exit.
That's alright. I'm sure Tio doesn't mind. He let me pick where we're going to eat. Don't worry, it's just close.
Luke follows closely behind, and perhaps out of some desire to keep the dead air away, I can't resist throwing in a quip.
Keep your distance. You better not do anything funny, you hear?
I'm the one who should keep my distance. May I remind you who approached me first and what you did right after?
Oh, I remember it clearly. But perhaps it's you who needs a reminder. You seem to have never learned your lesson. Care we give it another try? Maybe this time it'll stick.
Maybe this time it'll stick. You think you're scary? Well, I'll show you what's scary.
To my surprise, his tone lacks the usual sardonic note in it, and briefly I pause to stare at him. Quickly shuts his mouth right after and walks ahead of us. All talk and no trousers like the usual, and for the better part of our walk, except for Kylie's excited chatter, we don't speak. I wonder if we can get an ending where Rebecca punches him. I don't think we can make Rebecca and Hannah get along well enough. Somehow I have this strange feeling I'm already getting used to this kind of banter with him. Not sure if that's a good or bad thing. And amidst this newfound friendship, dare I call it that, Ashton's message lays forgotten and abandoned in my pocket. Of all the places nearest to the school, Kylie picks this one, and waiting for the food to be served is as awkward as I've imagined it would be. Not the bad sort, though. The pleasant kind. Surprisingly, Luke's an okay bloke when he tries. So long as you're willing to look past the tactless remarks or we're not exchanging acerbic quips. It's clear he's making an effort for this to be as fun as possible for the 6-year-old by being chattier, even going as far as to laugh when Kylie's story calls for it. It's an interesting thing to hear from the man. More than once, I catch his frequent cheesed-off expression easing whenever he looks at the girl.
And your friend? Did you make up with her?
Yep. She said she just saw something she didn't like. She didn't accept the jellies, though. She told me to give it to you instead. She knows you like the red ones, too.
Is this Takako?
Very well. Hand it to me later. I'll bring some of them home. I think your Tia would love to have some.
What a terrible liar. He says he dislikes the idea of having children of his own, but it's easy to see some part of him genuinely wants them. What's stopping him? Once Kylie wanders to the nearby bookshelves after having lost interest in the conversation, however, we both revert back to silence. On our own, we have little to talk about, aside from a few questions about the other here and there. At one point, it does veer on local politics and history. He's surprisingly versed with it that he can hold a decent conversation without throwing a jibe. Nothing too personal is ever mentioned so far, though it's too early for those, and besides, I don't like him enough to speak of every minute detail of my life. Better keep it strictly between the silence and the casual repartee. This whole thing already looks and feels wrong on so many levels. I'm quite sure he feels the same. So when another bout of silence hits us and becomes too much, I've taken to finding something else to occupy myself. Toying with my mobile, turning it from hand to hand while we wait for our respective meals. But it'll be a complete lie if I say I'm not waiting for some intervention. Something to pull me away from this place. Someone. Ash is probably at Salemo by this time, working on whatever business he has there. Maybe if I make up an excuse and leave now, I can still catch him.
Cut that out. It's distracting.
My hand stills, holding the gadget awkwardly between us, arrested mid-pass by his bored tone. He's been quiet for a long minute now, after complaining about how appalling the tea they're serving here is. Before that, he was whining about how uncomfortable his chair is and tasteless the decorations they have here are. Previous to that, he was griping about how dull this place is compared to the one he frequents on the upper-class side of the city. Well, I'm sorry for being a bunch of peasants, Your Majesty. Figures he'd lose patience soon, having already grumbled about almost everything his eyes can reach. It's just unfortunate he's turned to me now.
Why don't you just look somewhere else?
I can't. If I turn elsewhere, I might end up looking at the bobfog right behind us.
Bob, do I even want to ask?
I don't want to hear it. If it's coming out of his mouth, it can only be either rude or offensive. Yeah, probably. I don't know these British phrases, so it's just better not to ask. Regardless, he continues.
Everything looks good. But have you seen the face? True horror.
What is wrong with you? You know, I frown about this in practice, but that mouth needs to be washed out with a particularly potent soap, preferably by your own mom.
A shame she isn't here.
For whatever reason, that puts an end to that talk right away. He returns to watching his godchild, who has found a particularly interesting picture book and is now poring over it, while I return back to my mobile. Still no message. Would it kill him to at least send me a message? Check if I'm home? Meanwhile, Luke's silence lasts all but 10 seconds.
What is it with the damn mobile? Are you on a curfew?
He's got the immature act down pat, I'll give him that. Seriously, how old is this guy? Has he somehow been deprived of affection during childhood?
And what is it to you? I don't think it's any of your business what I do with it.
It is my business, all right? 1, I'm the one paying here. 2, I'm being forced to eat dinner in a place this stuffed and noisy.
There's like 3 people here.
Lastly, it's been 10 minutes, the food isn't here, and I'm hungry. What you're doing with the mobile is annoying and distracting, when the least you can do is keep things entertaining while I suffer.
I'm distracting you from your suffering.
That's your problem? Shouldn't you be more worried about how this entire affair looks to other people?
Oh, I didn't realize this was one. You move fast, Daisy. You could have informed me first, you know. Had I known, I would have taken you someplace nicer. Certainly the kind with better food and plenty of good wine.
Why did I ever think this was a good idea? Did it ever occur to you how inappropriate this might look to everyone?
Why should I care? It's only inappropriate if you make it out to be.
They're just 2 adults eating some dinner with a child.
Relax. I won't do anything to make your boyfriend angry. He doesn't even need to know we dined out. It'll be our dirty little secret.
He's not my boyfriend!
The words come out with more force than I've intended. By the time I realize my slip-up, his lips are already spread in a sneer. He slowly crawls up my face.
Oh, so there is someone. You're so easy to read.
Briefly, his eyes search my face. I have no idea what he sees, nor do I care to know, but in the next second he barks out a laugh, displaying his amusement without reserve to everyone within earshot. In that moment, I know I flipped a switch in him somewhere, and I've lost my chance to deny his assumptions. Do I even want to? Isn't that the reason why I've been so focused on my mobile, waiting for another message from him? For a reason to dump this awkward meeting to go after him?
Look how mottled you are. Now the nickname makes more sense. Shy Miss Pink and her cute little crush. The color suits you, by the way. It matches the hair.
Some people say my hair is pink, some say it's red.
It's not a crush!
Classic denial. But in reality, you want him to be yours, and your every move is made to make him notice you. In fact, you don't want him to see you with another man in a non-professional capacity, because he might misinterpret it.
The same thing goes for you, doesn't it? Bloody, yours is even worse. What about your wife? Aren't you concerned she might misinterpret this?
Oh no, I've killed her already.
Daisy, just because we tied the knot doesn't mean we have to be joined at the hip at every single opportunity.
Don't be ridiculous. Why else would you marry her if you don't want to be with her for the rest of your lives?
Also, that was a joke. In case you've forgotten, Hannah is still alive. She's hooking up with Zach.
Because, Daisy, she also has other things she can do with her life, and friends. Granted, I don't like some of them, and I have a few of my own she utterly dislikes. But wifey doesn't have to know my every move. Nor do I hers.
How did he end up hooking up with Rochelle if he hates her that much?
Do you know how boring that would be? To be with the same person for all hours of the day. Losing sleep over the mere fact they're not with you, or putting everything you have aside to please them, to have your whole world revolve around one person.
Aren't you just mistaking that for something else? Unlike you, there are other people here who don't share the same jaded outlook you have. Don't lump everyone together just because it didn't work out for you.
And you, my dear, are unexpectedly naive.
What's so naive about it? If you love each other, wouldn't you want to always see them, be with them? To have them focus solely on you? Maybe you haven't been loved enough.
Oh, it's that kind of thing for you, isn't it? The love is eternal, love is a strong emotion shite. A starry-eyed girl pining for a dashing Prince Charming? What's next? Romantic confessions of love? A grand wedding on the beach? Dozens of spawns running around in some picturesque home in the suburbs? How quaint. Are you also expecting it's going to be sunshine and rainbows after? A happily ever after? Please.
What? I never once said... And is all of that such a bad thing to hope for?
Woman, I've been married for 7 years, and I'm telling you, it's far from what you have in your pretty red head. Tell me, how long has this song and dance been going for you and your man? Maybe I am mistaken.
Averting my eyes from him is all I managed to do. What does his mere 7 years have compared to the 17 I've had with Ash? It's laughable he thinks those two things are even comparable. Ash and I may have never moved past the boundaries of friendship like what I'm hoping for all those years, but what we have isn't something anyone can scoff at. I've always been by his side, endured everything with him. I know him better than anyone. No matter what this man, this complete stranger says, I know there will always be a place for me beside him. And yet...
Come on, Daisy, that shouldn't be too hard. 3, 5, 8, 10, 20.
His words easily seep into my heart like sharp daggers, gradually picking apart everything I've ever been sure of. Despite myself, the doubts resurface and my defenses crumble right in front of my eyes. It's no wonder he sees through me, and as expected, he ridicules it. Restrained, lone rumbling, a sharp sound striking the air around us amidst the murmur of people and the soft notes of the music playing over our heads. His shoulders shake, and when his mirth becomes too much even for him, he reaches up a hand and passes it over his face, as if to hold his glee close to him.
Lordy bullocks, this is just brilliant. Oh, Mother, why do I always keep running into these things? This day couldn't get any better. I think I'm gonna need a stiff drink after this.
He dissolves into another peal of laughter, but when it subsides, what he has for me are more words. Scathing, each of them. The urge to run from here has never been this strong.
Is everything you said how you plan to act? If that man of yours ever ends up with you, cling to him? Put him on a bloody pedestal? Let him become the center of your universe? Although with how long this seems to be going on, I think you've already done so. Marriage will just be icing on the top. Like some sort of reward for you, isn't it? For being a good, patient, loyal little girl all this time. Never looking at another man. He must have been having a grand time with someone pining over him this long. I'm a little envious, to be honest. Maybe also a little surprised he hasn't suffocated from all your attention yet.
Laugh all about it if you want. It's not like you'll ever understand.
Luke falls silent. The ridicule in him is gone in an instant, and his eyes meet mine, sharp and imposing. A challenge, but I hold it against him with the same intensity, because if there's something I won't let his opinion trample on, it's this. What does he know? However, he's the first one who looks away, focusing his eyes back to where Kylie is, and for a moment, I believe I've won, until he draws in a breath and turns back to me. The words he drops next, though hushed, hang heavily in the distance between us.
You're right. I won't. But I do know not to mistake love for obsession, woman. They are not the same thing.
It rattles. Out of everything he said tonight, this is the one that twinges my heart. Maybe it's in the manner he delivers it, the lack of conceit in his posture, or an underlying insult in the tone he takes. The remark is not meant to cut, merely to express a simple truth. This time, it's him who holds his gaze against mine. Another unspoken challenge, and I realize that, if this happened minutes before, I'd already have an equally searing retort at the tip of my tongue. There's none. But the anger is there, wringing at my insides, prodding at the uncertainties I've long kept. Isn't it enough? We have the long years we've been together. We have the memories. Whenever he needs me, until other people came in between us, I've always been the one there. That dedication and loyalty should mean something, shouldn't it? I've always been sure of it, and that one day he'll see it for what it is. In spite of that, in this minute, under this man's scrutiny, my own heart wavers. Now I struggle to find the words. I don't remember which one's the good option. So I don't need to answer that. Right choice. However, those are for me to ponder on. This arse doesn't need to hear them, and neither is he entitled to them just because he dished out some profound-sounding life wisdom no one asked for. So I look away, hoping my own silence would be enough of an answer for him. And it is, for a moment, up until warm, furious tears prickle behind my eyes, stinging, begging for release, along with every other frustration this dumb talk has built up in me. All because of this man. I hate him. I hate the fact that he has to be the one to see me in this sorry state. I'm already expecting another barb from him when his expression shifts. Except he panics. In the span of 3 seconds, his expression changes from indifferent to concerned to utter panic. It would probably have been funny if I weren't so irked by the sight of this glycate bastard.
Hey, are you crying? Are you going to cry? Stop that right now, woman.
Will you shut up?
It clams up almost before I could finish. Whether this is due to the sudden force in my voice or how I look, I'll pretend not to think of it. He seems like a deer caught in the headlights with the way he's making himself smaller in his seat. But I'm still pissed. I'm tired, and if I can't punch him, I can at least scream at him.
You're an annoying bag of dick, you know that? If I hear another word from you, I'm sewing that bloody mouth shut myself!
It does do the trick. Not to the effect I've hoped, but the moment I've snapped at him, the stinging at the back of my eyes melts away, and a strange calm overcomes me. A fragile thing when found in the middle of a busy coffee shop. Nevertheless, it's appreciated considering it doesn't last, immediately broken by the very person that put me in this state with a few awkward pats to my shoulder. Done twice. Thrice. And another. Until my patience runs out again and I'm pulling out the book from my bag, raising it threateningly over his head. It'll surely dent his skull if it slams down at this height. Part of me wants to see that, but I restrain myself. He has the good sense to recoil, though. Shortly, he shrinks back to his seat and waves his hand in front of him in a gesture of surrender.
Watch that book, woman! I already warned you about your little threats. You don't want to see my brand of angry!
Then keep your hands to yourself!
All right, that's it, people these days. I swear you treat them nicely, and this is where it gets me.
You're the last person I'd ever want to comfort me. Even if we're the only two remaining people on Earth, don't flatter yourself.
Okay, have it your way, Daisy.
And stop calling me Daisy! I have a name, you know!
Romance. He mutters something inaudible under his breath, although afterwards, he doesn't say anything further. For the next minute, he simply contents himself with making a mess out of the paper napkins, folding them into clean shapes without any clear intent, before crumpling them in his hand when he loses interest and dumping them in a small pile in front of him. The waiter serves our meal soon enough, and Kylie makes her way back to our table. But before I can take a single bite, he mutters something. The words spoken in the same tone as used since morning, all under his breath, whenever the honest part of himself would show. Despite my rather confusing opinion of the man, I stop short of shoving food in my mouth to look at him. His eyes are on his food as he speaks, busying himself with cutting a portion of meat on his plate. What comes out of him only rings true against my ears above the din of the coffee house.
For what it's worth, Rebecca, I didn't ever think that's all there is to you. Why else would I leave my own goddaughter in your care if you're just some lovesick woman?
He spears a piece of his food, pops it into his mouth, and that's it. One whole day with this man, I still can't figure out what his deal is. But for what it's worth, as well, I don't think he's an entirely bad guy. The rest of our meal slips by in silence afterwards. Aside from Kylie's occasional chatter, the whole dinner goes by without another word exchanged between the two of us. Somehow, we managed to make it through the whole thing without triggering another tension-riddled conversation. A good thing, perhaps. One, because Kylie's sitting in front of us, and two, I probably won't be able to hold a proper conversation with my mind heavy with thoughts. We depart from the coffee house just as the evening crowd starts to thin out. The same wordless silence fills our short walk back to the school, except for when Luke gestures at a nearby flower shop and enters it without waiting for Kylie and I. He emerges minutes later after carrying a bouquet of daffodils with the same softened expression back on his face. Unlike the previous ones, he tucks this one away almost as soon as he looks up at us, a moment he's not willing to share. By confusion, he merely answers with a shrug and continues walking.
For someone important.
I accept it for what it is, if only because he doesn't owe me an explanation. It does leave more questions about him, each one as baffling as the previous ones. This is the last word spoken this evening before we head our own ways. Up until I arrive home, I still can't understand him. So, we're gonna pause and move to the next scene, which I think will be at the party. Okay, so we're back. We're at the party. Rochelle made a big scene, and Hannah is out dancing with Zach, and we run into Luke. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet, because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one Luke Wright. No sign of Hannah or Zachary. Just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make while he treads around the empty room. They also say treads a lot. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much this scandal has him shaken. Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure, he appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly in that 1 second in the hallway at school. It's a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open. Behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Be out in the open or behind closed doors. Though maybe this is because he hasn't noticed my presence yet, busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I doubt he'd be acting like this. His pride is one thing he'll always wear on him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders, and he whirls around to face me. There's a second-long moment of anger flashing across his features before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight. That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxborn if I could.
He probably pawns everything off on their servants and Hannah. Pompous elitist douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I can already feel one coming tomorrow. I don't need to hear one from you tonight.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. And as unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. The questions and criticisms aren't lacking, of course. But right this instant, there's only one thing that comes to mind. Hopefully one of these will bring us the happiness plus relationship, so we'll say you should be with your wife.
You know, brooding over here isn't going to fix this
Maxed
mess.
him!
Again with the lecture.
Will you stop calling it that?
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart? Please don't, I might puke.
You did this to me earlier.
And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
This isn't one, all right? It's just a friendly concern. Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly he doesn't know what to do with his hands, and in the end he simply stuffs them back into his pockets and sulks. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with after all. I honestly won't give him a second of my time if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders is eased, and when he speaks again, despite his rather rude choice of words, none has any venom in it.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that Viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the Munta if she sees her again, after she's done with me, of course.
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from mild disdain to offended, but I don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they're coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood.
People say the weirdest stuff about this guy, like he does so many horrible things, but then it's like, well, you're kind of a decent person, and no, we can't let Luke die in the mansion with the curse.
Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
And then he goes and sees her dancing with Zachary in the garden.
Maybe tomorrow.
Luke!
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
Oh, well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you. How about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
We'll give him that little half star that says you tried.
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
Oh, I do.
Before I've even thought about what to say, I've known where there can only be two ways this can go. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I've assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can't fix. His marital problems, first and foremost. His attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix, and it's definitely not standing around here bantering.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
You think this is funny, Daisy?
Laughter is the only response I give him. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. We got an achievement! I'll probably go into the ghost stuff soon. I don't know how much of that'll be new. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, only to have one last look at the man he really is. The instant I turn my gaze to him, I see it. Yes, it's the same thing with a ghost. So, we can probably pause this here. I think we might be done with Rebecca when we resume. So, we're speeding through Luke's path, but we got a bit of new dialogue. So, it's like, I wonder if things would have turned out differently if I had listened to McCullough. If I had talked to Hana, maybe asked about her plans leaving me. Like a pretty bird, I wanted her in a cage, and now I must let her free and hope she flies back to me.
Why don't you sit down and have a drink with me? Don't worry, it's not poisoned or anything.
Lonely? Oh, I suppose there's no harm.
Shake of my head, I procure another glass and pour some of the red wine. Watching the red liquid is fascinating on its own with some of my muddled brain. I barely notice it sloshing, and we don't know that part. We're talking.
We drink to... What? Might as well be drunk if we're going...
A bit less.
Jesus Christ, I have Sasquatch as a butler. I want to go out and look at the...
Mutter. Don't...
You know, Hana, she told that photo man that I was a trying husband. I can't even. The nerve of them, right? He goes and takes her out shopping, and they give me lip service in return. I bet they were talking shite while they were in the store spending my money.
Oh yeah, by the way, I killed Ashton, because I wanted to see if I could get another ending with Zachary. Also, even though Rebecca and Isabella were both there, only Zach cared.
Am I a trying husband, Joe?
I wouldn't know. You're not my husband, are you? But you are a trying Dummkopf when you are this drunk.
I didn't even do nothing. I did my best to behave decent. Whiskey and mint are just good friends, that's all. And that Rochelle woman's baby isn't mine.
It's probably all just going to be more of the same dialogue. So, pausing. So we got to the part where Zachary shows up, so let's see how much new dialogue there is here. Hana will disapprove, scold me for treating the man with such disrespect if she hears me right now. She seems fond of him after all, treats him like a friend she's known for years. But she's not here, isn't she? Which she doesn't know.
You! Again! It's bloody 6 in the morning!
A new journal entry. I guess it's the same stuff.
What the hell is it now?
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Oh, it's not a good time!
Yeah, that's still new.
Unlike you, come back when people are...
Well, that's... I thought that was when they went out shopping, which was weird.
Your eyes dazzle. I die young.
That's also not new. So, pause here. It's all the same. Okay, so Hana's in trouble! My decision is taken from me, however.
Why are you doing this? And look at you, smiling like this is a funny joke.
So now Zach is filling the role that Marianne filled in the last one.
Don't you dare lay a hand on that woman! She didn't do anything to you to deserve this, did she?
To see that great black man like this. This is perhaps the most terrifying I've seen him. The little anger he is capable of feeling is clear on his face, lining his soft and kind features. It would certainly be a fright had the woman not possessed such a monstrous countenance that he cannot rival. There's a tired look in the man's eyes, contrary to the rest of his heated look. Clearly this is a man who rarely angered and disliked being so. I have no doubts that it would take a great effort for him to be anything other than pleasant. He's clearly aggravated and he turns an accusatory glare at me.
Are you really just gonna stand there? Really? Come on, man, she's your wife!
Oh, what the bloody hell do you expect me to do?
Well, you're doing a whole lot of nothing. I expected more from you at least. This ain't right!
And maybe doing nothing is the best course of action here. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe, just maybe, I need time to think. Did you even stop to think that confronting her might make things worse? This isn't some bloody action filled where me charging in is going to save anyone.
He's not wrong, though.
One stupid move from any of us, and Hana might be dead because of it!
He grits his teeth and has nothing to refute my point, and it's obvious he's not happy about how right I am, and frankly, I don't like it either. The woman doesn't look armed, but that doesn't mean she's not dangerous. So we know this part already.
Will you not speak?
Why? It was just...
I take you nothing but
Yep, pushes Hana down the stairs. I'm frozen in place, but still, he catches her, and that sends the two of them sprawling at the foot of the stairs, and I have to stop myself from lashing out at how closely he holds Hana to him. It can easily be interpreted as a lover's embrace, and it does not help that I had the fleeting thought that she was cheating on me with him. Oh, like you are in any position to judge. But I let it go as this is not the best time, even for my dramatics, and because he did protect her from what could have easily been a dangerous fall. The anger and frustration from his expression bleeds out until there's all soft edges and a smile once more. He smiles up at Hana, one that doesn't look platonic in my eyes, and suppresses a groan.
Ugh! I was not expecting that. She didn't hurt you, did she, Hana?
And the way she smiles back at him makes me feel jealous, though I don't know who wouldn't be. Anyone would be lucky if Hana ever so much as looked their way, like she does with Steel now. If this were any other situation, this would be the straw on the camel's back, where I'd wrench Hana off from him and make my fist do the talking. I'd kind of like to see how these two would do fighting.
Oh no, I'm fine, Zachary. And you? Are you alright? I wasn't too heavy, was I?
What if Hana doesn't wish to be with me anymore? Perhaps she will easily find happiness with someone else, even if that someone else is him. He helps her to her feet like a proper gentleman, and I suppose he's fine enough if Hana would ever want him. I don't think anyone would be ever truly worthy of her. But if he is what she wants, who am I to say otherwise once it's all said and done?
Yeah, you're heavy. I'm a bit worried you would have crushed my ribs, but I'm well padded.
Hana laughs, out of breath, and she smiles at me, though that disappears as quick as it appeared. We aren't quite out of the woods yet, and she hasn't forgotten what I did, or rather, what I failed to do. It is only fair, I suppose. I am nothing but a coward in her eyes, a sorry excuse for a man who couldn't even muster up the courage to protect her. And I nearly forget for a moment as I watch the two
You
of
do
them.
not deserve what you have.
Anna, look here. You're all right. You've got me and him.
Zach is quick to place his hands on Hana's face so that she looks at him and him alone.
Between the two of us, you'll be fine, yeah? We won't let you hurt her again.
We'll throw Luke at her to distract her. He reassures her with a nod in my direction, and I still think he's far too soft. I don't know exactly what the bloody hell is going on, yet I can't find it in me to care, whoever these people are and whatever they're here for. So, same dialogue. I don't know why he keeps always never skipping when we get to this part.
What's going on?
I guess it's because Han is alive and Ash isn't.
No, stay.
Us.
Why? Remember this got to get.
Don't listen to her, Hana. How should I know?
Of course, you still deny it. You haven't.
Shit.
You just like you when you left that clear gun.
Careful, Luke.
It's back to now something. This is a scene, I swear, it never wants us to skip it. Okay, now we're all trapped in the study.
Is it so?
You. Hana, this is not you. If I. You shut this.
Is your what about me?
Are you taking? You're also that creep.
I'm not defending.
Oh.
Why no? For you.
Right. Oh, here. Are you? Because of that.
Suddenly, Steele steps up and slaps the knife away from my hand. Said knife slides uselessly under the table, out of my reach. Before my mind registers what's happening, a sharp blow explodes in the side of my head, sending me reeling backwards. Now Zach's the one punching him. He merely stands before me afterwards without even batting an eye, glaring at me as if he might just rip my head off in this instant. Huh, he isn't such a weakling, I suppose. Still, doesn't explain why he has to punch me. Did he forget whose house he's standing in right now? Punching me like that? The nerve of him. And Hana just stands there. Last I checked, she's still married to
There
me.
ain't no way to talk to a lady. Sir.
Zachary, you didn't have to. Please, I'll talk to my husband.
Oh, why don't you let him say what he wants? Oh, do go on. Since that's what these peasants seem to do these days. Barge into your home, barge in on other people's business. No sense of decorum at all.
Keep talking about us like that and see if any of us here. Rebecca, all of you.
So yeah, same dialogue, but it won't let us skip.
Stop this with the.
Just let me burn something!
Ow! Sir, you're hurting.
Luke, will you?
You're What do you mean, Lily? Don't.
Ow! No, You don't know. Then none of them had seen it. Even Rose. I should know. And even if I have this, we would have. Sir, please. All I know is that paper isn't. There's something.
Oh.
No. What about this place, Zach? Maybe.
This is where Bella found that.
Belle, Becca, think about it.
What?
I still think.
What? We are.
Well, you certainly won't be getting. Really, Luke.
Buddy.
Yeah, we'll burn the letter.
Give me.
Oh, let us skip. We've seen this already. Okay, finally. So mansion should still be the same. They get divorced. Luke gets found out. Jack's off to the Bahamas. Hana's a businesswoman. Mint is happy. Hey, romance. By some stroke of luck or an unfortunate circumstance of fate, Marianne encounters Luke right once again, almost a year after she returned home. She meets the man in the local marketplace, newly settled, fumbling and confused. Although she is under no obligation to assist him, she reluctantly offers help after seeing him stumble out of it on his Gaelic more times than she deems acceptable. And it becomes a start. One thing happened after another, and somehow on nights when the memories become too unbearable for both, their respite is a night in the pub. To drink it all away. To forget. A comfort, after the things they can no longer have. Whether it is a camaraderie that will eventually grow into something beyond friendship, only time will tell. Zachary's doing well. Oh, look at the babies! Oh, Zach's a dad. Unknown to many, Hana Evans also played a huge role in getting Zach's studio up and running. What's the control to hide the screen? Hide UI? Look, our little boy, look at our cute little daughter, their tiny little bodies. And what is this over here? Unknown to many, Hana Evans has also played a huge role in getting Zach's new studio up and running. But for all the latter's efforts to try and thank the woman, she insists keeping her investment a secret as she merely wishes to help out, having been impressed with his skills in the field during the brief time they've worked together. A working relationship that continues to this day as he is the only photographer she seeks at every single event she hosts, whether it is a simple social gathering or a company party. In recent months, however, many started to speculate it may be more than what it appears. a rumor that seems to only grow with each sighting of the two together out in town on the weekend, and every visit Hannah Evans takes to the said studio, staying for hours on end, sometimes even bringing her own children with her, who are especially fond of the photographer. Get her two tiny little hands. Both have never directly answered what the real case between them may be. But whenever a soft smile appears in their faces when asked, many have simply learned to take it as proof and can only wish the couple well. They are happy and no one can fault them for it. Also, Zach's friend is dead. But this is what we were going for, so. Despite his business's success, however, Zach has never forgotten the sacrifice his friend has made for him. Even after so many years, he remains a constant visitor where Ashton Frey lies, staying for a whole day sometimes, reveling him with stories about his day. Although the wounds are still fresh, Zach trudges on with life instead of wallowing in his grief, knowing his old friend would not want him clinging to his sorrow like he used 2 years before. It is how he has chosen to honor him. And Rebecca's writing books. She's friends with Zachary. Amidst her struggles, Rebecca finds an unlikely companion in Luke Wright. While he avoids the city like a plague nowadays after losing both his company and Hannah, he manages to drop by from time to time, mostly to check on his goddaughter, Kylie Suarez, though the man still won't admit it when asked. Rebecca still regards the man as insufferable. She doubts it will ever change, but after all she has seen, much as she denies it, she now considers his presence the closest thing she has to comfort. A similar sentiment the former businessman seems to hold, even confiding in the woman his problems, petty or otherwise. Their friendship may be awkward at best, but the grim reality of death having once overshadowed the two of them, it is something that they eventually grew fond of in time. Hey, they're supposed to be hooking up! Were they wrong about us being able to get them both at the same time? That's kind of annoying. So Isabel's an artist. She's never forgotten what happened at the mansion or what she's lost. And a bunch of friendships ruined. So I don't know if we failed to get the relationship ending for Rebecca or if that's just it. It didn't seem like it though. There's our epilogues. Romance. Got Marianne and Hannah, Marianne and Luke, Ashton and Rebecca, Zachary and Hannah. I think there's variations if she's still with Luke. So yeah, we did not get the one with Rebecca. And we're too late to kill Marianne off. Oh well. I'm gonna try and get that for the next... Where are we at time? I'm gonna pause for a minute. So, trying to see if we can get that Rebecca ending with Luke, but I came across this funny line of dialogue when Luke gets drunk, so I wanted to share it all with you.
If Marianne has anything to do with this, I swear I told her she shouldn't mess with me. I'll bite her hand. I don't want Hannah to leave me, Joe. Oh God, she's the love of my life, you know? I'm a shy human being without her. I should...
Yep, so back to the already seen dialogue, so I'm gonna pause again. So we're back at the epilogues. Let's see if we manage to do anything different. Also, I killed Ash again, but this time I had him be close with Isabella. Not romantically close, but I don't even remember if we already got her romance in her mourning Ash ending, but we'll see. Also, despite my efforts, I think I accidentally did not somehow make Zach and Hannah close enough, because Hannah's the one that punched Luke, but we'll see. Yep, they divorce. Luke's still doing fine. Marianne is happy. Zach is happy. Oh, well, we got a new ending with them, and look at the babies! Oh, they're so cute. A little bull haircut. Unknown to many, Hannah Evans has also played a huge role in getting Zach's new studio up and running. But for all the latter's efforts to try and thank the woman, she insists on keeping her investment a secret as she merely wishes to help out. Having been impressed by his skills in the field during the brief time they've worked together. A working relationship that continues to this day, as he is only photographer she seeks at every single event she hosts, whether it is a simple social gathering or company party. Beyond work, they also remain close friends to this day, marked by frequent visits to his studio or casual talks over lunch or dinner. A friendship that only seems to grow in time, especially after the businesswoman's separation from Luke Wright. Both have never directly answered what the real case may be, but it is clear that Evans heiress trusts the photographer enough to put her children, who are especially fond of the man, in his care every time she leaves town. There's Rebecca. There we go. So for the people that were told you can get Marianne and Luke's and Rebecca and Luke's happy relationship endings at the same time, you can't. Amidst her struggles, Rebecca finds an unlikely friend in Luke Wright. She has a giant head here too. While he avoids the city like a plague nowadays after losing both his company and his family, he makes an effort to drop by from time to time. What is his hair doing? Mostly to visit his goddaughter, Kylie Suarez, though the man still won't admit it when asked. Despite starting off on the wrong foot, Rebecca considers his presence a blessing now, a familiar face after all she has seen. The same thing seems to go for the former businessman, confiding in the woman of his problems, petty or otherwise. At times, when their circumstances allow it, the two can be seen taking Kylie out to the local park, watching over the child, or sometimes simply engaged in a mundane conversation, enjoying each other's company and never talking about anything that hints of any misfortune. Whether this will ever grow into something more, only time will tell. Yay. Also, Ashton is dead, so although Isabella has already taken the first steps towards her dreams, she has never forgotten the sacrifice her friend has made for her. The same one who has quietly encouraged her despite his careless words. Even after so many years, she remains a constant visitor where Ashton Frey lies. Sometimes staying for an entire day, simply speaking of the mundane, exchanging jibes with the man as if he was still there with her. The wounds are still fresh. She can never deny that. There will always be a part of her that will carry the grief of losing him, and another that left with him. But Isabel soldiers on with life instead of wallowing in her grief, knowing the detective would only tease her for sulking for so long. She paints, and it is how she has chosen to remember him. So, after this, I plan to go for the true ending. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm gonna go for the true ending. Probably will not be like a lot of new stuff past like maybe Luke's chapter. I do plan to do one other like sort of ending run through for that, where I get Hannah and Luke together because I want to see them with the babies. Although I am glad we did get to see them with Zachary in 2 different scenes. So yeah, and also we'll be getting Ash and Isabella together when we get Luke and Hannah together, because why not? So, thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye!